The Matrix Resurrections. Hello everyone, I'm Joe Squared, and today we're here to review The Matrix Resurrections. They've brought it back, and seeing as it's The Matrix, I thought we'd have the green light, the shades, and of course a long black coat, because those are three things we all know mean Matrix. So yes, this is a reboot, once again, of another old franchise. We've seen it already this year with, something like Ghostbusters. They're bringing it back, and, this reboot is bringing back Keanu Reeves as Neo. It's bringing back the character of Trinity and Morpheus, but a younger version of Morpheus. The plot has always been kind of hard to predict for this based on the trailers alone. It's just a return to the Matrix. It's always going to be as simple as that, because it is the Matrix. It is something that can be revisited because of the concept of it, and it can be, rebooted and reset. But in all honesty, after watching the movie, I'm still not sure what the plot was. I don't think I'll be able to explain it, honestly, because I was, in a sense, just completely lost for a majority of this movie, and I don't really know what the plot was. I mean, to say I was confused would be an understatement, because it wasn't just like, oh, I was confused at the start. I never really caught on. And, I understand the concept of the Matrix. Like, the first film makes sense to me, to a degree, apart from some things being overpowered. But in terms of the general plot, I understand it. But here, I was just lost. I didn't really understand what story they were trying to tell here. It seemed very complex, and it's almost like they were trying to outdo the Matrix originally, like the original plot. It seemed like they were trying to take it to another level of complexity, like Nolan style. But it was one of them, it just sort of went straight over my head. In all honesty, all I really gathered was that Neo was as confused as I am here. He's stuck in the Matrix again, and he needs to figure out why, and he needs to figure out why he's being put back in and how he's going to escape. And that involves, the help of new allies. That's pretty much what I gathered for it. I guess that is the way of saying the plot. Neo is stuck again, but regardless, I did really struggle to follow from the start. But this film felt less so based on a new plot and more focused on being nostalgic and sort of referring back to the old movies, and it wasn't subtle. It was very on the nose. I found it was it was a weird one. It was a case of whenever one of these characters that we know said a line that had been said before in the previous trilogy, or they reference a little something, they would then show a clip or a scene from one of the original three movies, which I found strange. It's like, people watching this movie, they're not going to go and watch it if they haven't seen the original, at least the original first Matrix, or, and maybe the trilogy. But you're going to have seen something about the Matrix, you're going to know about the Matrix. So they were very on the nose with like, hey, this is a reference. This is a reference. It's like, yes, we know. It's the Matrix. It's a iconic movie. Everyone knows the Matrix, and even if you haven't really watched it, well, you just know about it. You know some of the lines, some of the looks, you know sort of the basic concept, and they were very thorough at being like, yo, this is a reference, and it's a bit like, well, just come on, let's play it subtle here, At the end of the day, I think that would have suited it more, because it felt like it was trying to be very fan servicey more than anything, but I'm not really sure it played off that well. And in regards to the plot, obviously, it's okay to be confused from the start about, I wonder what's going on here, and then, the breadcrumbs are shown and you gradually begin to understand. But this was a case of I was just confused throughout, and then you just get heavy exposition scenes like, oh, by the way, this is what's been going on. I hate that, I think it's kind of cheap. I think it's lazy. It did make sense eventually, but I was still a little bit lost. But it did fill in gaps and stuff. But at the end of the day, I think you've got to show some respect to the viewer. We've watched The Matrix before. Give us a new puzzle here. Give us a new little, what's going on? Rather than just making it unbelievably confusing. Once again, I'm going to clarify, for me, it was unbelievably confusing. I don't know if anyone else was having this issue where they were like, what the fuck is going on? Or they actually understood what was happening. I was extremely lost. And then you get the heavy exposition. It's like, okay, I understand, but because you're trying to take in so much information at once, you're trying to piece it together and figure out why that is that and why it all makes sense whilst the film is still playing and they're still trying to show you new stuff. And I'm not really sure it worked the way they laid that out. And to be honest, when this plot was explained, I didn't really find it as like as dramatic as I would hoped. It was kind of underwhelming. There wasn't really much to the plot, in my opinion. I didn't think it was a plot where you would write this out as a script and then the studio would say that is a good reason to revisit the Matrix because this is a story about the Matrix that's worth telling. I would have seen it and be like, well, it's a story, but I wouldn't make a movie about it because it's not that interesting. Whereas, they could have written something a little more exciting. Like the first Matrix was exciting, but it just didn't feel like a lot was at stake, to be honest, and it didn't feel like ultimately it really mattered what happened come the end. And honestly, it didn't really feel like returning characters got as much time as they deserved, especially some more than others. I'm not going to specify who, but some really didn't get enough time. And I think that was a bit of a bummer. And then some returning characters, they were younger versions of themselves. Now, obviously, it's the Matrix, so you can play that off as like, oh, it's like an old version of themselves because it's the Matrix. But obviously, we know it's down to the fact that they couldn't actually get all the original cast members back. Like, I know that Hugo Weaving, who played Agent Smith, they couldn't get him because he had a busy schedule. I don't know what's going on with Lawrence Fishburne. I guess he's busy too because they had to play a younger version of him, which was, it was played pretty well. It just seemed like a younger version of Morpheus, but it didn't seem like Morpheus. You know what I mean? It looked like a younger version of Morpheus, but it didn't feel like Morpheus. It just, I wasn't really sure what these portrayals were. In fact, a lot of these characters didn't actually feel like the characters we knew. And yes, I know they're in the Matrix, they're lost, but there didn't feel like a whole lot of resemblance there. And honestly, I did find the performances a bit wooden at times. And I hate to say that. I don't know if it's down to the writing or if it's just, we've seen it before where actors return, to a franchise after being out for so long. Such as like the sequel trilogy. And even at times, some of those performances felt a little bit wooden. They felt off. They didn't feel like the original characters, like Luke, Han, Leia. It felt like it wasn't the same person. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like this is things that they would say or this is the way they would say things. Because it's been written in a modern way compared to how it was written in the past. So because of that, it did feel off to me. And, hence why I say it felt a bit wooden. It felt a bit stiff. It felt a bit like they were just sort of reading off of, they were just reading the script, but they weren't really putting the character into it. They were just reading it, I mean, for me, this movie never had a point that was better or worse. It's not like there was a good middle and end, and the beginning was bad, or, beginning and end was, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was all just the same level for me. It was like, it never really got that good, and it never got that bad. But the problem was, because it never got better or anything, the movie just going along, I did find myself a tiny bit bored. I don't like to say that because I'm a fan of The Matrix, I'm a fan of these actors. I think it's a cool idea that they brought it back, even though I do sort of raise my eyebrows a bit whenever they bring back a franchise because it shows like a lack of imagination. I feel like, they're running out of original ideas, so they're just bringing back what we already know. But it just, I did find myself getting a bit bored. And that's a shame, because I was hoping it would get better, but at no point did it, and it's a shame. Honestly, some may enjoy this. I didn't that much, unfortunately. I know some people have enjoyed it, and some people did enjoy it, but for me, it just felt like the film never really got going, and it was so, like, focused on being a nostalgia throwback that it sort of sacrificed the plot for the sake of thinking, if we bring back old characters, people are going to like this regardless. If we make references and callbacks, people are going to like it regardless. But it was so on the nose. It was so obvious. And it didn't choose to tell like a really exciting story that it just felt like like a throwback show. Like a highlight reel almost, it didn't get going for me at any point. And it didn't feel like this is really what this sequel should have been, like this reboot. As I said, some will enjoy, some people in my cinema were like enjoying, they were laughing, they were going like, whoa, when something happened and stuff like that, which is fine, good for you. Fucking enjoy yourself. Just, enjoy the movie. Why not? Have a good time. But also some people left. I shit you not, like 6 or 7 people actually walked out of the cinema, and it's not like, oh, they're going to the toilet. Like, they had their coats and bags and stuff, and they never came back in. They just left like halfway through. So this is one of those movies, you're either going to, You're either going to enjoy it or you're just not. And I'm sort of like in the middle. I enjoy little bits of it, but I wouldn't watch it again. And I think it's a shame. I don't think they've done this movie very well, in all honesty. But maybe it's because I'm not super into the Matrix. Like, I haven't seen the second and third movie in God knows, like over 10 years probably. I saw the first one not too long ago, and even then I do have a few issues with that movie in regards to the ending. So maybe I'm just not like a big like Matrix, hype guy. I don't know Matrix hype guy. You know what I mean? Fan of the Matrix. Some people are going to like this. I think big Matrix fans are going to like this. People that probably grew up with the Matrix, saw it in the cinema when when it was out, would probably like this movie more than I would, because it just wasn't quite enough for me. I'm not too invested, I guess, in the Matrix universe to really appreciate this movie and enjoy certain elements of it. But at the end of the day, the choice is yours. Blue pill, you like the movie. Red pill, you don't like the movie, or vice versa. Choose your pill. I'm a bit of a red pill on this, I'm afraid. I'm more inclined to take the red pill. But, not great, not terrible, just probably not my cup of tea, so it's kind of hard to judge it based on that. But if I had to give this a score, I would probably give The Matrix a 5 out of 10. I'll just go in the middle because I don't really want to sound too harsh. I think it had its problems, and it just wasn't for me. But I can understand why people would enjoy this. And I think if you understand the complexity of it, there probably is more enjoyment to be had here. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Thank you all very much for watching. Have you seen the movie? What did you think about it if you have seen it? And leave a like, leave a comment, let me know. I was going to say we're 10 subs away from 100, but we're actually 11 because I had 90 subs the other day and then it went. I guess they didn't like what they saw. Fair enough, you know what I mean? I'm not everyone's cup of tea. But yeah, I've been Joe Squared. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And have a nice Christmas if I don't upload before then. Probably not. This will probably be the last one. But have a good one. And see you in the next one.